This lesson plan will be about the fingerprints. For the learning objectives, the students will be able to identify the 3 types of fingerprints. They will also be able to explain how fingerprints smudges are created, and they will be able to explain how fingerprints are unique to each individual. Before class, make sure you have all the materials ready and have the fingerprint pattern diagram printed and ready to hand out to the students. Make sure that you have all the materials such as white paper, clear tape, a pencil, a magnifying glass, which is optional, a clear glass or jar, cocoa powder, and a paintbrush or makeup brush. The relevance questions are interactive questions, and the students should be given a chance to answer them. Then you will go over the answers provided in the lesson plan. Make sure you ask all the questions provided and give the students about 3 minutes to answer. For the formative pre-assessment, you will ask the questions provided in the lesson plan to the students to get an idea of what they know on the subject before starting the activity. For the critical thinking section, begin the lesson by explaining to the students that today they are going to be learning about the fingerprints. Ask them to look at their fingerprints and ask the questions provided in the section. Go over the answers. Make sure you also go over the nutrition section with the students. Go over the fingerprint patterns provided in the lesson plan and pass out the diagram to the students. Explain the fingerprint patterns. Make sure that you have all the materials ready before starting the activity. For step 1, you will have your kids trace their hands on white paper using a pencil. For step 2, you will have the students rub their left pinky on a different piece of paper. Make sure that they scribble hard enough until a small area is covered with graphite. Ask your students to rub their left pinky around in the graphite until it is covered with gray. For step 3, you will help your students place their left pinky finger on the sticky side of a piece of clear tape. Then gently lift their finger off of the tape. A clear fingerprint should be visible. Have them place the tape face down on the left pinky finger of each of their traced hands. Have the student repeat this with each finger of the left hand until they have fingerprints on each of the 5 fingers traced. Now they will repeat this process for their right hand. Let your students inspect their fingerprints under a magnifying glass, if you have one. Even if you don't, they'll be able to see patterns. Ask them whether the prints are the same on each hand and whether they see any patterns like loops, whorls, or arches. They can compare it to the fingerprint diagram that was given to them at the beginning of this activity. For the lifting of the fingerprints, you will need materials like cocoa powder, clear tape, clear glass, brush, and white paper. For step 1, you will rub your hands together and make several clear fingerprints on a transparent glass. For step 2, you will use the brush and very gently dust some cocoa powder onto one of the fingerprints on the glass. For step 3, you will blow the excess cocoa powder away and lift the fingerprint with a piece of tape. For step 4, you will tape the fingerprint onto another piece of white paper and try to match it to one of the fingerprints from the first part of the experiment. Can you figure out which finger it came from? For the independent practice, you will ask the question provided in the lesson plan to get the students to engage in a discussion about fingerprints. For the closing reflection, the students will think about what they learned today and answer questions. Ask them questions to see if they understood the different fingerprint patterns and to see if they were able to figure out their own fingerprint pattern.